It is Monday, April 28th, and it is just starting to storm, just starting to rain here. It's going to storm pretty hard tonight. But as you can see, a little bit's been done in my patch. You'll get to see a better view of what my patch looks like from an elevated position. And then you'll get to see what I have done in my patch. I'll also give you an update on my plants later in the video so you can see how they're coming along. Stay tuned. Today is Wednesday, April 23rd, and I just finished amending the rest of my patch as far as I'm going to for this point in the season. As you can see on the left is where I'm going to be planting the plant closest to the camera. That's the 500 square feet I amended for that plant. It's going to go away from the camera, so it's going to go south. The one in the middle is going to be on the south side and grow north towards the camera. And then as you can see on the right there, that one is going to go away from the camera. So that plant is going to be on the north side and going to go south. So I just thought I'd give you a better visual because it was really hard to explain from ground level on my last video what my plan is. But later in the season, I will amend those other spots that don't look like they're tilled up right now. Those will get amended later in the season. Up here you can see a better visual. To give you this visual, I'm actually standing on my roof right now. I don't have a drone, so I couldn't give you a good elevated view, so I decided to climb out my window to give you a view of this. Anybody that followed my season last year, this is my existing patch that I grew in the past 4 years. I will have a cover crop in here at some point, but right now that is not my top priority. I'll have a cover crop on the 2/3 closest to the camera. That other end of the patch, I'm going to throw my giant watermelons in there is the plan right now. Also, one of my daughters is going to grow something in there for the fair. And then we've been clearing out, my oldest daughter and I have been clearing out this area. That's kind of where we've been dumping like the weeds and other grass clippings and stuff. So it's kind of been composting there. But we clear that out. She's going to grow something for the fair in that spot. It'll look better once we get it all tilled up. Kind of behind this roof, that's where my swamp patch was that I tried to grow in last year. That was awful. It is extremely wet right now, so I'm really glad I'm not growing there right now. But this just gives you a better visual of everything. Looking over here, this is where our horse barn sits. I built the front doors for that. Just finished those up, got them hung. I am going to put a video together that shows how I did that. And then I've been putting in these 6-inch round posts by hand, so that's been taking up a bunch of my time as well. Hi, it is Saturday, April 26th. All 3 of my pumpkin spots are marked out and amended, and the 2 that are going to get heating cables, this is my first time doing heating cables, so I'm going to see. It might take me a few tries to get it right, but one thing I'm running into that I don't see with other ones is I put in T-posts down the center of my hoop houses. So I have T-posts that hold the structure up because PVC pipes that I use to hold the hoop house up are too flimsy. So I use T-posts to hold the structure up. And so I marked those out. But what I'm going to have to do is put those T-posts in the ground and then run my heating cables around and go right by those T-posts that are already in the ground. I want to make sure to put the T-posts in the ground first so I don't drive them through the heating cables once they're in. So I'll go into my other patch here. Just for you, anybody that hasn't watched before and you haven't seen what I'm talking about, you'll see it later when I get the hoop houses up. Not sure when I'll get those up for sure. But see, this is the 4 posts left over from last year from this is my existing patch. So this is the 4 posts that I used for the hoop houses. So the end of the hoop house would be right here and the other end would be on that far one. But this is, I'm gonna get these posts in my new spots and then I'm gonna dig out and put my heating cables in just so I don't have any issues later on when I put the T-posts in or when I put the hoop houses up. So I'm back at my new patch. This is the one I'm going to start with. I am on the northeast side of my patch right now. And I'm going to start with this one. First thing I'm going to do is put the T-posts in. And then I'm going to dig it out. And right now I'm planning on doing 6 feet wide and 5 feet long for my heating cables. I have no clue how tight they're going to be in there right now. I have a 60-foot cable. As I said, this is my first time doing it, so we might learn something on this first one. But when I come back, I'll have the T-posts in and probably have it dug out. So if you can see behind me, I got the T-posts in for the hoop house, and then I do have the 5-foot this way by 6 feet wide hole dug. It's about a foot deep. Next thing I'm planning to do is use my broad fork to loosen up the ground. I don't want this hole here to turn into a big pool and just hold water where the roots are and potentially rot them out. So I'm going to loosen up the bottom with my broad fork before I lay the heating cable. So that's my next plan. So here's the first set of heating cables in the ground. First time putting them in. I have them spaced roughly 6 inches apart, and then I covered them up slightly with dirt as I went just to keep them apart so they don't touch, because you don't want these touching. I assume they either get too hot or short themselves out and will quit working. But this is where I plan to plug it into a thermostat, which will have a probe into the soil. But it looks like my wife took some video of me doing this, so I'll put that after this, and then I'll probably, if I get around to it, I'll try to do a time lapse of the other spot when I do that one. But what I did here is I worked some of it up with the broad fork on the far end, worked it up probably about halfway or so, laid those heating cables, and then I worked my way this way. So the last set, I was broad forking from up on top here, and then laying the cables from up on top because I didn't want to be stepping on the soil again. So now that once I fill this in, I'll try to avoid walking in there without walking boards so I don't compact it anymore. But yeah, I'm just gonna have to fill all this in now and then see if I get around to working on the other one tonight, or if I'll do that tomorrow. So I'm down in my basement right now. I was going to give you an update on the plants, but if you see here, we got some chicken supplies or chick supplies. So we're getting chickens within the week for the first time ever. So If you have any advice on raising chickens, just drop a comment, because this will be our first time doing it. But here's the heating cables that I installed on in my 2 spots in my patch. You should have seen those in the video. And then that is one of the grafted plants that didn't survive. You can see it's trying to throw out the pumpkin. The watermelon part is removed. It never attached. I'll show you the other one upstairs when I get up there, but these are my backup pumpkin plants. So they're not getting a lot of care. They're just in front of the south-facing window, but we don't have any sun right now. But these are my 2 watermelon plants that I planted that I showed in previous videos. But they seem to be doing pretty well. They will, at least one of them, if not both, will see a spot in the patch when I get around to it. I don't know when that'll happen yet. But if you notice, I have fans blowing on the plants down here. That is to try to get them used to the environment, get them used to some wind, and hopefully make them a little bit stronger. So here's an update on my plants, the ones that I want to grow this year, the ones that are doing better and that will see a spot in the patch. So this is the 1931 Turner. You can see something going on a little bit with this first true leaf. Might have got a little bit of maybe too much nutrients. I did put a starter pack, fertilizer starter pack in this soil when I transplanted them to the larger pots. So it could be from that. I'm not sure. I'm not too worried about it since the second leaf here looks good. This is the 2177 Ford. So these 2 will see different spots in my patch. This one right here is the grafted watermelon plant. It actually is just starting to put out the first true leaf on the watermelon. It had stalled out from the grafting for probably, I don't know, a good 2 weeks. But I have a time-lapse camera on it so we can check to see if it's actually progressing. But it is putting out the first true leaf now and maybe starting the second true leaf. That is the 2190 Bledsoe, but I'm going to hold on a sec. I'm going to go around to the other side of the table and show you a closer view. So here's a better look at the 2190 Bledsoe. If you notice the second true leaf here, it kind of looks a little funky. I don't know what's going on with that. I haven't looked at that close. I just noticed it today. So I'll keep an eye on that third leaf there. And then these are a couple that are probably backups. Maybe it's going to be a primary, but this is a 1931 Turner. I can't get a good view of it. This is the first time they're seeing the grow light is today. So they got a little leggy sitting downstairs in front of that door. But this 1931 Turner will get double planted with that other 1931 I just showed. And then this is a 1970 and a half Turner. And this one's probably going to get paired up with the Bledsoe plant. And based on how it's looking right now, it may be the primary plant. We'll see what ends up happening once they see the patch and how they grow. I'm hoping to have these plants outside within a week or so. I typically am not in the ground outside until at least May 6th. So I might be ahead of that this year, and with the heating cables, may push them along quite a bit faster, I'm hoping. So even though I feel like I'm behind a lot of growers, I still feel like I'm in a good spot for where I want to be at this time of year. So from that elevated view that I showed in my video from when I was filming up on the roof, if you look, that patch is back there. I did till it up yesterday. So hopefully you can see that, but that is the patch I tilled up yesterday. For one of my daughters to grow a giant pumpkin for the fair. She's only going to have probably about 40 days from when it's pollinated, if she's lucky, before the county fair. So it probably won't get to be a huge size, but hopefully she can get it to 600-700 pounds if she's lucky, and have something to show there. For those of you that followed last year, this is my swamp patch. You can see it's just weeds now. I still got the posts. I'm gonna move these posts probably to my new patch if I do a fence that needs those. But this gives you an idea what the swamp patch is currently at, I have a feeling if I went that way, I don't want to walk over there right now, but I have a feeling that it's going to be extremely wet in there, just like it was last year. We don't have as much rain as we did last year, but I have a feeling it's probably really wet in there. So just wanted to give you an update on what that patch looks like and why I'm not growing there. So hopefully you got to see how I put the heating cables in. I have a feeling they're going to make a big difference and potentially get me to an earlier pollination or get me a bigger plant at pollination time. Hopefully, it's really windy right now, so hopefully my mic's doing a good job at blocking out the wind noises. I really wish I would have had the hoops up in this patch and the one behind me where I have the heating cables. We're supposed to get some really strong storms tonight, potentially large hail, damaging winds and tornadoes. I'm hoping that it misses us, but I didn't want the hoops out, the hoop houses out when those hit. I might as well wait an extra day instead of having them get tore up by the wind. That is where this video is going to wrap up. I really appreciate you following along. Please subscribe. If you have any questions or want to see something in a future video, just let me know. I'll see what I can do to put it in a video for you. Thank you.